Hello, friends.
Hello, everybody.
Yo. Is there anything on the agenda?
No empty agenda.
Just the annual report, which I think Ben might have started on. Oh, GitHub is back for me. Hooray.
Was GitHub dead?
Let me, Ben. There might not be a report open, actually. Yeah, it looks like no one started it. I will help out and I will get mine in a Google Doc and we can all see what we can put in there. Make a copy. Okay. So let's, oh, I don't have the, anyone have the host key? I don't have it.
Oh, no, you're
Okay.
right. Oh, because I see it's already recording.
So let's take a look at this doc.
Got it.
I put it in the chat.
All right, I see it.
So we can pull out all the SIG CLI stuff and replace it with SIG testing stuff, and that'll give them a head start to, this was due last week, but I know Ben is really busy and Aaron is out right now. Oh, there's Paris.
Hi, Paris.
That's no good.
Yeah, there's Ben.
Okay.
And we didn't really kick off yet. We were just looking through about the annual report that's on the agenda, and I didn't see a draft open. So I created a Google Doc copy of my 6CLI one, and we were just going to start replacing stuff.
Sounds good. Sorry, I'm late, y'all. Technical difficulties this morning.
Okay.
This time I made sure to switch laptops and it didn't go smoothly. But last time when I didn't switch laptops, the web client ran very poorly. So let's see.
Do you have the host key, Ben?
Sorry?
Do you have the host key? I see it auto records when we start the meeting.
Yes. I guess it's a bit late to the usual intro spiel, but welcome to the SIG testing meeting. It's recorded and uploaded to YouTube. Please follow the CNCF code of conduct, which in short, be excellent to each other. It looks like I'll be hosting today. If anyone wants to take notes, that would be helpful. But it looks like for the most part, we don't have an agenda this time, so we can start looking at this draft report. Actually, Paris, this is one of the things that I believe has fallen through since Aaron's been out. I think Aaron was doing our YouTube uploads, and I don't believe I have access to any of that. Not that I have time anyhow.
Yeah, no, I'll figure that out for you, and we'll get that straight.
I think we're probably like a few months behind on the actual YouTube uploads. If I had to
Okay,
guess.
well, let's figure. Yeah, let's figure it out offline. But I'll see where they've went, and then we can get YouTube admins to help us out with like mass uploads and things like that. So no worries. We'll get everybody squared away.
Okay, so oh, don't mind me. I think we still have some SIG CLI things in here.
Oh yeah, I just completely made a copy of mine.
Yeah.
We can delete it all. If you have a doc, we can use yours too.
We don't yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, after this meeting is over, today is the last day of write your perf details at Google. And then it's write feedback for other people. And I'm writing for a couple of promo candidates. So I need to finish my perf, which I have not really done, and then get cracking on writing feedback. So I'm going to be like fairly unavailable for the next week or so, because I need to do justice to those folks' promos. So I'm probably going to be coming back around to this sometime next week for the most part. Tony and I are also trying to make sure that we finally get another kind of release out the door now that we hopefully don't have any known outstanding regressions.
That sounds like an announcement. Repeat that one more time for me. You're planning to get another kind release out?
Yeah, it's been quite a while. We've had like a steady string of like people aren't available for a little bit, or like we discovered that there's another regression, or like a fix for a regression caused a different regression or something because of all the different more esoteric platforms they're supporting now and don't have CI4. So we're now in a state that appears to be releasable since maybe about a week or two. But Antonio and I have both had poor availability. We're hoping to get one out sometime this week.
I can also see if we can get somebody to write us a blog about it. Okay, not you or Antonio while y'all do the work. Something.
We'll hopefully have, we usually have pretty detailed release notes at least.
Yeah.
I think so. I think I can definitely dig and come up with like, you know, what projects have been going on. I'm fairly aware that some of the things that I felt less comfortable answering are later in the doc with things like how do you count membership? I'm a little hesitant to like unilaterally answer these, but I'm also not sure who all to go for. I think more the answer is more like we don't really pay heavy attention to that.
I was about to,
focus
that
more on like
sounds like your
sub-project
answer.
ownership. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that acceptable?
Yep.
Okay. Because I think that's actually the case in our SIG. We don't really have anything where we say like, oh, you can only discuss this if you're a SIG member. We just, if there's something where a decision ultimately needs to be reached, it's mostly going to come down to sub-project owners. So we pay attention to that, but I don't think we haven't made a big distinction about being a member or not. Welcome all participants. I think the closest thing would be the mailing list, since there are like documents that are open to the mailing list.
What's everybody else think? Like Cole, what do you think? Do y'all measure membership with Prowl stuff?
No, not really. It's pretty much exactly what Ben described. Like we have owners files for ownership, but that's kind of separate.
Okay, so what big work did we highlight this year?
Well, I will need to come up with a summary for it, but we definitely have some work on kind, quite a lot.
Cool.
I don't have like a short TLDR for it at the moment,
okay.
but we probably will want something on that. We'll want to reach out to the folks working on the Kubernetes SIG's E2E framework, because I know there's been a fair bit there. But similarly, I'm not sure like what the short version is, but there's been some more work and some releases on that. Kubetest 2, we've had some work on, and there's definitely a lot going on in Prow. Cole might be able to talk more about that.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and see which of the Prow improvements are kind of specifically beneficial for the Kates community. Yeah, I'll need to go through that separately. Like Ben, I'm also kind of totally unavailable this week, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's okay. We can get some placeholders in here, so we'll have a Prow update. Is Prow considered a sub-project?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying. If I'm overstepping, tell me. I'm trying to help because I just did this.
No, this is super helpful.
Okay.
Honestly, we should have started this a while back. Most of what we've been doing is trying to figure out, okay, where can we find folks that are prepared to like help run things with Aaron out.
Yeah, and so there's a section for that. We can put out a call for what we need help with.
What initiatives are you working on that aren't being tracked in KEPs? Almost all of them.
Also extremely fair to spell that out as well. That's exactly the kind of stuff that folks want to say. Yeah.
I definitely want to get more feedback about that. What I've experienced in this SIG has been that the KEPs seem really aimed around launching features in Kubernetes. And if you're doing things that aren't intended for Kubernetes end users in particular, it's a really heavyweight process. And most of the time we can make progress much more reasonably with just bringing a discussion to the sub-project owners. So we probably have maybe one outstanding KEP that made some progress in the past year, and everything else has been, almost everything else has been unkept.
Okay, you guys don't have a contributing markdown file in community.
No. I'd say we mostly don't in general. Kind has a contributor guide now. I imagine we'll probably get to one with Prow as we're starting to spin up a doc site, but we don't have one yet. And all the other ones have the template file that points back to the like overall Kubernetes.
Okay.
Let's still list the kind one too, though, because it is a sub project, so
Yeah.
that's still relevant.
Let me pull that up.
I'm grabbing the YouTube videos from KubeCon the past year. Is there any other work that folks did that you want to highlight or shout out? This is a chance to shout out some great contributions too.
There's some things that I'm not sure if they like strictly fall under our SIG. Like there's been some work on the existing EDWE framework that we use for most of our tests. Trying to rack my brain. I think it mostly falls under the projects that I've listed already, but I know I know there's more.
Did y'all have a maintainer track session at either KubeCon last year?
I don't believe so. No. We put out a call, but no one had one.
Okay. Okay, so we don't have those. Did we have any other presentations? Did we present at a community call? We may have. Do you have that agenda on hand, Paris?
No, we didn't do that
I
last
don't
year.
think so. Last year, I don't think anyone was doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, we didn't do that last year. Yeah. And we, I mean, technically aren't this year either, since it's new format.
Yeah, I believe our last maintainer track session was when KubeCon was still 100% in person.
I think that was San Diego, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we had a number of talks then, but we haven't since then. Yeah, Am and I had one short talk at a Google event, but it was not a Kubernetes event. We talked about some things in the project, but I don't think that counts.
Record it again and post it to your README and boom.
I think if you just like cut that section of the like conference out, you wouldn't know.
Do it. Good information is better than no information, in my opinion.
Honestly, it's because it was such a short format. I feel like our existing older talks are more useful. Like again, in kind, we maintain we have a resources page and we maintain an index of the relevant talks, and like we haven't had more because there's not a whole lot to add. I think the existing talks are pretty good.
Okay. Okay. So I see two caps from 2021.
Probably
One
Basil and Cube Test.
Continuously deploy Kate's prow. This is by
Ah,
Chow.
that's a good one. We should call that out under the prow work done.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.
Is this a stable cap? Do we know?
I would say so. I'm not sure if we've officially marked it.
All right, I'll
What
count
does
it.
stable
As,
mean?
it's a cap life cycle status.
It's like the final status, like you're done. It's you did it.
Eddie, share your screen.
Can you make me co-host then?
Yes. Well, I can if I remember the.
Well, we may
I
not have
was
officially moved. Sorry, go ahead, Paris.
no,
Okay.
no. It was a joke against Eddie. So you go first.
I was just gonna say, I'm not sure if we've officially changed the status stat cap in any sense, but that work has certainly landed and has been for a long time now.
Yeah, that. I don't recall any status updates going by, but I also wasn't as hands-on with that particular cap.
Prow has been updating itself for most of a year, so I think it's pretty stable.
Let's see.
Nice. Okay.
We also did we got the Bazel removal in Kubernetes to like GA this past year, and we made some progress on the kube test to kube test 2, but that's stalled at the moment just because there's no one available to work on it. So that'll probably be one of the things we put under the like call to action.
Yeah, and apologies. You said cube test to cube test 2.
Yes.
Thank you.
I believe we have a KEP for that.
That's
Awesome.
And
this
we've made some
one.
progress, but
Okay, that's in a cap then. All right, I'm not gonna put that there.
the owner moved on to other areas of work, so we're gonna need to get someone to pick that back up.
Yeah, that sounds like something great to call out.
Okay. Here's
That
one.
one's basically to beta, but it's not landed as stable. That's a bit of a long tail.
Okay. Continuously deploy prow. This is marked as beta as of 1/21. So we can open a PR if we want to call that stable too.
Yeah, I think we do. I will poke Chow about that.
Okay, so I'll make this the beta.
And then this one went GA.
You said 1/21. This was beta. Okay. And then which one were you talking about, Ben?
So we have two more. We have the cube test to cube test 2, which is at beta, I think also in 121. And then we have the Kubernetes Bazel removal, which is GA as of 123. Stable.
Nice. 2464 is marked as beta, and it's supposed to be stable for 124.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
Okay.
I think that might have been a little bit ambitious to begin with, just because like the it's stable enough itself, but there's just such a large volume of work to do the final steps. It's a lot. There's a lot of CI jobs using kubetest.
Yeah, for sure. And what did I say that was for? 121 that went. 123 went
beta,
beta.
or the Basil 123 went stable. The
Oh, which one's Basil?
Cube Test 2 went GA, or went beta 121, I believe.
This
Basil
is
is
Basil.
2420.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we didn't call it that, but I think colloquially we've just been referring to it as the Basil cap.
Oh. That's a great one to shout out. Oh, you did that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that one's a pretty big win. We have a similar effort going on without a cap in test infra that's almost completed.
We said 123 for the Basil one. Is that what we called it, stable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because that's when when the past releases that we didn't touch were no longer supported.
Cool. And then what about this one? Defining the Kubernetes release cadence. Was this more SIG release?
That's more SIG release.
Okay.
We're just like a participating SIG because the impact on CI. Since we're lengthening the release cycle and testing more releases longer.
Cool. And I think those were it, right? Just those three?
Yeah. I'm not aware of any other ones.
Okay. Any rejected caps from this year?
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right, owner's files. Do you have a list of all of the owner's files for the project, for the SIG?
We're doing pretty good about having them in SIG.YAML.
Okay. This is in community or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the sub projects. There we go. Just below the meeting, there's the like index of sub projects. I think maybe the markdown generated version is a bit easier to read. But I think this is fairly current.
Okay, cool. So, oh yeah, I see. All right, so we have BOSCOs. Okay, so this has 2 approvers. We don't have any reviewers in here.
BOSCOs is not in good shape. BOSCOs is really not in good shape.
Okay, so I'll put BOSCOs for 2 or less. Oh, this is an old one. Let's look at the new one, actually.
The Kubernetes SIG's BOSCOs. Test infra BOSCOs is like, it used to live there and there's some lingering bits.
Yeah,
but it's not any better in SCOs. They're going to like bare minimum make sure that it keeps functioning, which thank you for that. But just the bare minimum of attempting to review PRs, there's no like active work or super involved owners.
Okay. All right. So end-to-end test framework is good.
End-to-end test framework is good, and it's extra good because it's not like a critical dependency anywhere in the project. It's more of an offering for folks that like wanted to use what is our critical dependency, the in-tree EDB framework, but we steered them away from that because it's a bit of a mess, and we decided it wasn't worth the effort to try to extract it. So this is a clean alternative.
Okay, what about the K8 GSM tool? There are
That
two
one's
owners in that.
not great. I'm not sure if we're using this. This was an intern project that was supposed to do secret sync. I'm not sure. Cole, did we wind up using this?
I don't know what that is.
This syncs secrets from Cloud Secret Manager to Kubernetes.
We use a separate tool for that called Kubernetes External Secrets.
Okay, so I think that this didn't make it through to production. This was primarily Aaron's intern. So I'm not sure how to call that one. We might just be obviated by a different project that we don't own.
I'll list it for now. We can provide context on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one we can talk about archiving if you want.
I think that's probably the most likely outcome. I'm probably not going to rush into it though. I'd like to get Aaron's input someday if possible, but I don't want to bother him about it right now.
Okay, Cube Test 2 is good.
It is, but it isn't. I'd say since again Aaron's out, it's just one approver really.
Okay.
And reviewers is also pretty much active. I think we'll see if Grant Mushi will be around. I haven't seen I'm not gonna try to COYFC. No, I have no idea how I'm supposed to say that one. I'm sorry. Yicheng. I don't recall Yicheng being active in there recently.
Okay, is that concerning that you're the only approver?
That and that I may be the only active reviewer? Question mark. And this, I mean, we do use this in CI, and the intention is to stop using QTest. QTest we formally deprecated like maybe 2 years ago. So we're only accepting bug fixes.
Okay.
In theory, QTest 2 is much easier to maintain. It's much better organized and has cleaner separation of concerns. And it has better support for if people want to add like integration with something else that we're not hosting upstream. It's very easy to do without like having to fork or having to do it upstream. So like, for example, COPS has their own implementation that is maintained in the COPS tree. But even though it should be easier to maintain, we don't have maintainers. So.
Okay. Would you say kind is healthy?
It's healthy. We'd like it to be better. I'm probably going to need to emeritus Amwat there. And James hasn't been very active either. We are in discussions looking for folks prepared to grow to like maintainer someday.
Cool.
But we're okay in the meantime. We do have 2 active reviewers and approvers.
Prow is healthy.
Prow is quite healthy.
Okay.
Yeah, there are some things that might be worth noting here, though. In particular, I think we still really need the SIG Kate's Infra to continue taking over some things. In particular, the monitoring stack. We at Google can't really continue running the old monitoring stack that we had because of some license changes with Grafana. So we've had to switch over to an alternative monitoring stack that's Google internal, but because it's on our projects that are at google.com. So we need the SIG Kate's Infra to continue taking over that kind of monitoring stack in order to continue having things like the BOSCO metrics dashboard.
I
Yeah.
think they meet tomorrow. Does anybody want to take that? Is anybody going to Kate's Infra tomorrow
I think it might be next week.
or next week? Yeah.
Yeah,
one of
I
the
will be next
Wednesdays.
week, but I can tell you
Okay.
that like with both of those hats on, at the moment we kind of stopped trying to move Prow things because of the cost issue. We're exceeding our budget already, so migrating things in the short term is a problem, and I need to respond to some threads after this about the cost mitigation we're working on. I'm not sure when we'll have that. I'm not sure when that will have taken sufficient effect that we'll be comfortable doing large migrations again.
So I don't know if it was Cole or Mushu. Can one of you just add some notes here, please?
Yeah, I'll add that.
Thank you.
The SIG testing repo is fairly defunct. I think it'll still be a useful place for us to put documents, like if we do write a SIG specific contributing guidelines. But as a discussion board, that is a failed experiment this past year. And that's something we'll want to report back to the community.
Nice.
I can't tell you exactly why, but GitHub discussions did not take. I don't think folks are interested in them. I would guess just because there's too many existing venues.
Right.
And even if we don't really love any of them, we already use all of them. So
Here.
Okay, test infra overall.
it has plenty of overall approvers and is active. But it's sort of a mono repo, so there are certainly things within it that might not be as healthy.
Mm-hmm.
What are your dreams for this repo then?
I would like to continue splitting out the most useful things. Like it has been kind of useful as an incubator, and it was useful when we weren't necessarily trying to make things as reusable outside the project, to just have everything together and interoperating. You can have configs cross-checked and things like that. We have moved towards a place where, like, instead of Prow's configuration being right alongside Prow source code, we have a config directory, and everything that is Kubernetes specific configuration wise is scoped to there as much as possible. But it's kind of an expensive project to actually split out some of these things that have become so big and useful. So I'm a little hesitant to ask someone to actually do that, because even if someone showed up and had all the time to do it, it's going to be disruptive to the other people working on the project.
Right.
But over time, I think particularly the like smaller and medium-sized projects, that's what we've been doing, is breaking them out like BOSCOs into their own repos, trying to get them in a place where they can have tagged releases, their own workflows, and CI. I think the mono repo sprawl has been challenging.
Do we need to worry about, if I know a lot of the Googlers are the ones who've been handling a lot of that, but if they all leave, are we in a bad place where no one else from the community knows what's going on or has access to things?
We're not in a super great place if that happens. I know there are other people that do, but like, for example, like Alvaro knew things quite well at Red Hat, but I was reaching out to him recently, and it turns out his day job doesn't involve SIG testing anymore. So we do have some other folks, like Peter and this call knows about Prow, but for the repo at large, that said, there's also plenty of things where that's already kind of the case. And we've had to do kind of like archaeology on them. Things like the triage dashboard, a Googler wrote and didn't leave a lot of docs or anything, and it was running fine. No one paid attention to it. And then when we've had issues with those things, again, mostly Googlers have gone and like dived in on it, but we've come in from not knowing anything, and it's been okay, because it is pretty all open as much as possible. The main thing that isn't is some of these legacy google.com projects, but we have the path forward into Kate's Infra once we unblock the spend issue again. I do, with my Kate's Infra hat, also have a little bit of concern about that. Like, I can't speak for Google in that regard, but just as a community member, it kind of concerns me how much of it depends on the, to me, relatively large credit donation to continue running. That seems like something to be aware of. I think in the past, even the Googlers working on this have had pretty poor visibility into how much it actually costs. And now that we've migrated things, the answer is quite a lot, actually.
Tell me about BOSCOs again. We need to grow that. It needs love.
Yeah, it's another one of those things where, like, most of the year we could be pretty fine with it just being how it is, but if something does break, that's how nearly all of CI runs. We rent projects from BOSCOs or AWS accounts from BOSCOs, and then create clusters in those GCP projects or AWS sub accounts. If BOSCO stops functioning, we stop being able to rent projects. We can't run. We could run kind clusters, I guess, but we can't run like GCE clusters or AWS clusters for the most part. There are a few things that use fixed projects, like 5K node scale testing just has a project that has the quota for that and is carefully scheduled, but almost everything else uses rent something from BOSCOs, and BOSCOs is also in charge of making sure that we don't leak resources, that it goes through the project and deletes everything. So the other issue that happens if BOSCO stops working is we stop cleaning things up, and not only do tests fail, but we're wasting cloud credits on leaked resources that aren't doing anything, VMs or whatever. So it's one of those things that, like, it needs to have someone available to, like, review fixes and potentially make fixes, ideally. But that's tricky to staff because we don't really have feature requests. And I think that's mostly what companies are. I know, at least at Google, that's, you know, going to take priority.
Do we have any recorded walkthroughs of BOSCOs, how it works, kind of a layout of the code base, any of that?
I don't think so. There's not a ton of code there. We have some talks that reference how it works, and there's some documentation about, like, the high level thinking and design.
Okay. I'm going to put down, we should get a proper walkthrough recorded and archived.
I actually think beyond the, like, little bits of docs that are there, the things that aren't there are fairly self-explanatory. It's not a very complicated tool. It just, having no one on it is not great.
And who has access? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say our on-call team is kind of like in like emergency reviewer mode right now for that, in the sense that nobody else is like, we don't really have much need for reviewers, but when we do, there's nobody that really knows anything about it. So we've kind of designated ourselves as the people that can do the reviews for now, but we, yeah, like Ben has said, we don't know anything about it really. It's not a very difficult tool to understand, so we can handle that in the meantime. But it would be potentially nice to have somebody that knows it a little better if we plan to do any more work on it in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
But like,
Ben.
we're asking a bit much of the, like, test and for on-call team to take care of all these things. That said, like, I wouldn't necessarily want to just pick some completely random person we don't know and just say, okay, you own this now. But on the other hand, I'm not really super concerned with someone being, like, extremely familiar with it. It's not very complicated. It's not going to be touched very often. But, you know, organizationally, if I'm not around and the on-call team is no longer taking care of this, then we don't have anyone that can actually do the approve, and then we can't merge code if someone wants to send a fix. So right now we are depending on the test and for on-call team to extend to covering that, so that we at least have a few people that someone can do a basic review and approve.
Yeah, I'm thinking kind of what Grant just dropped in the chat. if we only have if Googlers are the only ones that know how these work and have access to them, we should definitely get a list together and start seeking new contributors and maintainers or reviewers.
Well, so there's a little bit of a difference here. So most of the Prow stuff is deployed from Git by automation, and even some of that is deployed to community infra, but something like Triage or Kettle is deployed by I run a makefile that is in the repo, and it pushes to a specific Google project that only Googlers have access to. Someone could stand up another instance, but it would be high effort and it would require new projects, and we might have to restart the data and whatnot. I think a lot of those things I would argue aren't as urgent though. Something like Kettle or Triage are really nice to have for debugging why tests have started failing, but I don't think they like their absence doesn't completely block the project.
Are those things we should get on the roadmap though for Cicades to migrate and take ownership of at some point?
Definitely. I think they are.
Okay. I don't know how to
Like
lead.
Prow certainly is. Triage and Kettle are used probably by a fairly small subset of our power user test debuggers. And I would really like to keep them around for them, but I don't think it's as critical as like Prow. Whereas BOSCO is somewhere in between. Anyone could handle that. You should not need much in the way of like direct cluster access. It is auto deployed from Git, but someone needs to take care of it.
Kettle is what powers the triage storage page.
Kettle is the like first step of data processing. It collects up all the job results and puts them into BigQuery in a more useful format. And then Triage takes from the BigQuery, queries it, does some further clustering, and produces failure clusters and has a web front end for that. So it's kind of like two components. I think there's, in theory, you could use the Kettle data for other things. Off the top of my head, I'm not aware of anything currently running. I think there's maybe one small metrics thing that tells you like these are the flakiest tests. And that used to be in the monitoring stack that has moved around a bit. And instead now there's just like a JSON file in GCS that you can go load to say, these are like the most faily tests. Or these are the flakiest tests. So I'm also not sure that anybody is inspecting those, and there's some, you can get a decent view of that just by the heat map in Prow's front end. The failure clustering though is really useful for that subset of folks that are digging into why our tests, like why is this test flaky? Finding where it's been repeatedly failing. But I think, we could live without it. It would just be a lot harder to track down failures.
Oh yeah, I use the triage site all the time. Absolutely.
Yeah, like there are a few people for which it is pretty critical. I think there are a number of other people that are completely oblivious to its existence and would never use it, and we would get by okay. It's just anybody that wants to dig into why are tests failing, it's really, really powerful.
Okay, what metrics, community health stats do we care about or measure? So we had said that we care about the number of open issues and I don't even remember what I said.
I'm definitely concerned with the number of active proofers. That's a little bit tricky to measure exactly, but I guess we could just count the number in the file like that brought up earlier. That's close enough.
We said open untriaged issues and PRs and new reviewers and approvers. Yeah, so we made a big effort this year to grow our reviewers and approvers.
Yeah, I would definitely say that reviewers and approvers is one. I personally don't love open issues as a metric just because like that punishes continuing to track things that aren't fixed. But if there was some way to measure issues that aren't getting a response. But most of our projects haven't used the like untriaged label, or if they have it, it's not getting marked triaged. I think we've got people stretched thin enough just responding at all.
Yeah. Have you seen the triage party stuff at all?
Yeah, we've discussed one in the past, but again, part of the problem is we just don't have that many people even trying to triage everything. So it would cost more time to set this up than I think it would save.
Okay. Any other metrics, community health stats we look for?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. So we don't have a contributing markdown in our community folder. We did have one. I saw somewhere else. I think it was in test. No, it was on our SIG testing repo.
I think that's another boilerplate one.
Okay.
Like our repos have the boilerplate contributing markdown that points you to the like general Kubernetes stuff. Kind is the only one that I know that has an edited one that points you to the like kind contributor guide. But there's like a boilerplate one in Kubernetes community repos that points you to the overall, just like how to contribute to Kubernetes. So we should have one of those in each of our sub projects, but it's just the standard.
Okay.
Nothing SIG specific, except for kind.
Are there any ways end users or companies can contribute that they currently are not? If one of those is more full-time support, what would they work on and why? This is the important piece, right, Paris? This is what we
I think we need approvers, but that's kind of hard to just send because there's the whole contributor ladder. And it's been challenging to say what should people work on to get to the top, because I would say most of our projects are in more of a like keep the thing running mode and less of a like let's make it more complicated with more features. I think Prow is certainly still developing features, but almost every other sub project, Prow in the E2E framework, and then almost every other sub project is just like maintenance, keep up with things. Like kind is keeping up with Kubernetes changes, but we're not really adding much in the way of feature set, or like BOSCO's we're just trying to make sure someone can approve fixes. We're not really looking for, it's ran with pretty much the same feature set for probably 5-6 years now, and it's fine.
Okay.
But since it interacts with the cloud, it does occasionally have to keep up with changes.
How much work do you think it would be for an approver to put in for BOSCOs? Like 5 hours a month, 10 hours a month?
Yeah, like 5 or less. I would say that there are many months where we really don't need to change anything. BOSCOs is probably the easiest one to have someone help approve, because we just need to make sure to understand that like our priority for that is stability. There's really no interesting features there, but it is something that's very critical to our CI that we use constantly all day, every day, handling hundreds and hundreds of projects for us. We just need someone to be familiar with it and comfortable approving bug fixes. Maybe getting actual releases cut or something, but in terms of like, core code feature set, it's good enough. There's not really anything that changed there.
I wonder if this kind of stuff would be a great dev at Kubernetes email, where we say we're looking for current contributors who have an extra 5 hours a month to step up to the plate to be BOSCO's maintainers. And you know, unfortunately, we can't take new contributors at this time, blah, 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 but we get really specific on dev. And I know for a fact that there are other current contributors right now that have been looking for ways to get more valuable into the project. I can
Yeah.
take this for y'all too. I'll do the email if that's what you need me to do. And I mean, obviously I'll show it to y'all before we send it. What do you think about something like that? Just like literally getting the horn out that says, here's some projects some sub projects of ours that need approvers. We can't grow you, so you have to be currently with the project. But guess what? There's at least 1,000 of you that are currently reviewing and approving already.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fair because definitely the hardest part here is just we need some level of trust. Like it is a very critical dependency.
100. And that's why I'm saying we can establish that by saying, you know, we need a current contributor to step up, you know, and here, you know, you need to be at least a reviewer in another area or something like that. I mean, we can definitely, and maybe we can even do like trial periods. We can set up like group mentoring, and I can run the group for like 3 months. And then at the end of the 3 months, then we can bless them into an owner's file.
Yeah.
Right?
I think maybe we can work with the test
like
Infra OnCall team just to rotate someone else into doing the reviewing.
Yep.
And they can still approve initially.
Yeah. Yes. I like that idea.
I think that's going to work the easiest in BOSCOs of all the projects because it's also it's the lightest carry. Most of the time, we don't really need people to do anything other than potentially be available if there's a bug fix so that someone's ready to approve. Like we have some folks that could just do that, but I think we have an anti-pattern going there. Like I don't actually want to see our node trying to approve literally everything in the project. It's exhausting.
Well, in a big part, we're out of time, but I think a big part is we just need people to know how it works and what it does.
Yeah. And there's not a lot to know about that. Yeah. It's a really boring little like 4 services CRUD API thing. It's very slightly more complicated now because it uses CRDs, but if you're comfortable with CRDs, it's a very simple CRD.
This is something, go ahead, Barry.
No. I was going to say, you're an advocate. You should like unbox this yourself, do it live and record it, and boom. There you go. There.
Yeah, I have no problem helping and doing all of that. I don't know how BOSCOs works, right? So I would need to learn how BOSCOs works to be able to do that.
I think we can find someone that can help with that.
Yeah.
Cool. We're out of time. What needs to get done in here? We need to count our unique reviewers and approvers in our packages we own.
We need a lot more detail on a few of these sections, like the work that could be highlighted. We have like stub bullet points.
Oh, and you can run. Did you have y'all tried DIMS's maintainer tool?
No, we have not yet. That's definitely something we should be looking at. Yeah, I actually think this is something we should be looking at running and CI. There's so many things to do.
Yeah.
Eddie, can you share this doc to the mailing list?
Yes.
Like with notification?
Yes, I'll do that. And the other thing real quick, so when it comes to growing reviewers, we've been super liberal in SIG CLI. We're like, someone showed up, made a couple PRs, like, hey, do you want to start reviewing pull requests? Like, there's very, low impact negatively they can have by saying, oh, this looks good when there's still things missing, right? Because the reviewers still come in and look at it. So,
yeah. I think BOSCO in particular jumps out as a really good candidate for that.
Yay, team. Good session today. I learned a hell of a lot. I don't know if you saw me, but I was just firing out notes for myself. Like this was great.
So disorganized, y'all.
This was great.
And thanks a lot to Eddie for helping with everything.
Yes. Eddie, you the bomb.
Happy to help y'all.
I'm bringing that back. I'm bringing it
And,
back.
and this is a good time for us to check in and be like, oh, like here's the things where we need more love and attention. And yeah,
Yes.
Well, running the
exactly.
meetings is one of them.
Seriously and honestly, Ben, I will come run a meeting for you.
Yeah.
If anybody here needs me to run a meeting for any SIG, that is, it's always been my offer. I don't need a chair title to run a meeting for y'all.
Fair
So
enough. Well, I may take you off
Um,
that at some
I'm-
point.
yeah, I'm
I
dead
think I'm doing
serious.
most
Take
of them
me up
right
on it.
now, and Saki was telling me last night. I definitely need to take some vacations.
yes,
soon.
you do. And I'm
So-
here. I'm here for y'all. Seriously. So we can do this. We can do this together. Just tell me what you need.
yeah, I'm happy
Thank
to
you.
run meetings too. I don't have a lot of the domain knowledge, so but organizationally, I can definitely plow through it all. We can also consider doing what SIG Docs did and just put out a call that we're looking for a new chair or someone to start running meetings.
I
That's
think we
that was what
probably
we
will
did,
be
yeah.
doing that. We were looking first internally amongst like existing contributors that do have domain knowledge to see if anybody wanted to reaching out to like sub project owners and things.
I am also in most of these meetings, so I can also help chair.
Yay! Loving the help right now.
Thank you. Well, we are a couple minutes over time. Thanks everyone for coming. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Bye, y'all.
I got a perf.
Good job. Have a nice day. Cheers.